And we're back, and that means it's time to dig into the second book that Games Workshop sent us to review, the World Eaters Codex for 10th edition. Again, thank you to Games Workshop for providing both the Death Guard and World Eaters Codexes, as well as the accompanying battle forces. So, the World Eaters, as we were talking about when we talked about Death Guard, these are also a Chaos Legion with a very tragic backstory, because really, when it gets down to it, not only was Angron absolutely screwed over by the Emperor, and I don't think anybody would argue that.
Angron did nothing wrong. Wait, that's a much harder argument to make.
Okay, at the point of when he was plucked off of Nuceria, he had done nothing wrong.
That is true.
I will give him that.
He does a lot wrong after that.
He does quite a bit wrong after that. But yes, basically, when all the Primarchs got split up amongst the galaxy by the forces of chaos, he ended up landing on a planet called Nuceria, where he was raised to be a gladiator slave. And of course, because he was the biggest and baddest gladiator slave of all, he was very successful, being a Primarch. But his brain had also been wired with technology from the Dark Age that basically only made him happy when he was killing things, and it made him very angry. And the Emperor found him and was like, okay, I need you to come with me, because I'm going to go on a great crusade to continue liberating the galaxy. And Angron was like, no, I'm in the middle of leading a revolt here with my gladiators. I'm going to do my best Spartacus routine, and we're going to go do our final charge. And yes, most of us will likely die, and we will probably lose, but at least I will die with my brothers in arms down here. And the Emperor said, nah, and just plucked him off the planet with the teleporter. And at no point did the Emperor ever say, like, well, we could send forces down here to help you and bring this planet into compliance. No, just...
Well, the Prime Directive doesn't let you interfere and stuff like that, right?
I don't know if you know this, but the Imperium of Man got themselves involved all the time. Interference was kind of their jam. And so Angron hated the Emperor forever, but also begrudgingly took upon the role of, all right, I'll be the leader of this legion, but I'm not going to like it, and I'm not going to like any of them. And that's true. He didn't like any of his legion, but they looked up to him as like, you're our gene father. We love you. We want to be just like you. Okay, put the mad wires in our brains that make us only happy when we kill things. And it went it went worse from there. And eventually...
And then things got worse.
Somehow things got worse. And yes, eventually they fell to Khorne. Angron himself became, I think, the first demon Primarch.
Yeah, got tricked by Lorgar.
Yeah. So, got screwed over by the Emperor, fell in with Horus, who had been tricked by Lorgar, and then himself got tricked by Lorgar into becoming led into the trap of becoming a demon prince, and now he just hates everything and everyone and wants to kill everything. And the rest of his legion basically fell apart into war bands that also wanted to kill everything. And that's where they are now. They are crazed murderers in service to Khorne, and that's all they can do. The butcher's nails, that psychosurgery, basically keeps them from ever being too lucid. And when they are lucid, they hate themselves.
Yeah, relatable.
Yeah. So yes, it's not a good place to be, being a world eater. No one likes you, and you hate everyone, and you want to murder them all. And it hurts your head if you don't.
Relatable.
Is there something we should know, Kevin? Probably not.
No, I'm doing fine. We're all doing fine here.
Yeah. So let's talk army rules. You did not leave the Casino of Khorne. It just changed a little bit. Just a little bit, really.
I actually like this better. It is a little less reliable because previously there were two options that were any doubles. There's one option in here that's like double ones, double twos, double threes, double fours, double fives, double six. So it is like percentage-wise a little bit less reliable. Like there's an option, there's a chance that you will only get one result on here as opposed to before where you always made sure that you got two. But like it's a minor change, like it's not that big a deal. I think the options on here are so much better. I really liked the ones they had before, but I think these actually add, because they also like the big one they took away. Cause we lost the 2-inch movement, we lost advance and charge. I have notes. I don't know why I'm trying to do this from memory.
I was gonna say you did
Like,
it right up.
Yeah.
And while you consult those, for anyone, when we say Casino of Khorne, what we're referring to is Blessings of Khorne, where their army rule works as at the beginning of each battle round, you roll 8d6, and then you basically tally up how many doubles, triples, etc. that you have and what they are doubles and triples of, and you can use 2 of those groups to trigger an army-wide effect. So you can get up to 2 effects.
So we lost one that was the plus 2-inch movement, and we lost the advance and charge, and the feel no pain. So 3 options are no longer in here. The plus 2 movement is not a big deal because, as we'll get to in a moment, every unit basically got plus 2 inches of movement always, like just added movement. So Terminators now move 7, which is insane. The feel no pain is the one that hurts the most because it made World Eaters very like durable. And that's kind of my biggest concern is like, ooh, they're not as durable as they used to be, which is going to be painful. And then losing advance and charge sucks. But what we got instead of that is much nicer.
Yeah, because for double ones, and when I say double ones, it's double ones plus. So any doubles, effectively, is reroll charge rolls for everything. Double 2s and up is pile in or consolidate 6 inches instead of 3.
Huge. That one's huge.
Double 3s and up is a 4-up fight on death. Double 4s and up or triple 1s or up is sustained hits 1 on all your melee weapons.
Yep.
5 double 5s and up or triple 2s and up is lethal hits on everything. And then double 6s or double 3s and up, devastating wounds against infantry.
That honestly is the one that I think is like the game changer out of this, because the ability, I mean, it is only against infantry, but the ability to do devastating wounds was like one of the few things this army didn't have the ability to do. Sustained hits, lethal hits you had before, but now being able to just put wounds on tough things like, say, Death Guard is huge.
Yeah.
So I think that one's, decapitating strikes is awesome. I really like that.
Yeah.
Wait, is 666 gone?
The
Triple
666 for Angron is still there. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
it's just rolled into his profile.
Yeah.
Oh, got it.
The other thing they did too is they changed the way that icons work for this army, and a few other ways too. Icons and like the Lord of Skulls ability let you re-roll options on the chart, or let you re-roll dice for the blessings. What they do now is they just give you extra dice. So if you have an icon and a unit killed somebody, you just get an extra d6 when you go to roll next. So instead of rolling 6, you're rolling, or 8, you're rolling 9 or 10. So you're much more likely to get some of the higher results or the triple results because you're just rolling more dice. So I actually really like the way that works.
Yeah, it does seem like it's a little bit more bookkeeping, but you got to track it on a unit by unit basis.
Yeah, I think so. But it's I don't know. I think it's a little bit more. Probably a little bit more like reliable. Because like I said, the chart is a little less reliable because it used to be the top 2 options were any doubles. And when you're rolling 8 dice, you're going to get at least 2 doubles. So now it's like double 1, double 2. So it's a little less reliable. There's a chance you might get only 1. But you should be able to roll more dice on this than just the 8 you start with pretty easily, which should mitigate that. So
yeah,
I think I like this. I think the devastating wounds is huge.
Oh yeah, devastating wounds against infantry is very, very solid. And as you said, against Death Guard, this army is actually a pretty solid check for Death Guard, I would say.
And Custodes.
Yeah. So again, like we did last time, we'll do units first and then get into the detachments. And of course, if we're talking World Eaters, we got to start with Angron.
Yes.
Who actually lost strength on his attacks, which you would think would be, wow, that's bad, but all his attacks got devastating wounds, which...
So it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. In fact, it's worse. It's so much worse.
The devastating wounds is just huge. The Reborn in Blood, so like the 666 result on the blessings, when he comes back, he doesn't come back with full wounds. He comes back with only 8. So that is better, because I think it's probably going to be a little bit more easy to accomplish with the extra dice that you can get. So the fact that it only comes back now with half his wounds is probably a fair balance.
Yeah. And then his Wrathful Presence ability, which is what his, like all the Demon Primarchs, pick one of these 3 abilities and it's on for this battle round. They changed up. So you've got Blood God's Favor, which lets you re-roll up to 6 of the dice for your Blessings of Khorne roll.
Yes. That's nice.
Which then makes it even more likely you're going to pull off those higher doubles or triples.
Mm-hmm.
Overwhelming Wrath. Every time an enemy within 6 inches is selected to fall back, they have to make leadership or they stay in place. And the third, only one of these is a force multiplier, technically, with this third one being an aura. But a 6-inch bubble of ignore modifiers to move and move characteristics, advance and charge rolls. And every time they make an attack, ignore any penalties to weapon skill, ballistics, or weapon skill or to hit rolls. So
yeah, that's huge. I mean, that's really good. The blessing, the Blood God's Favor is a good one because, again, just the amount of rerolls you can get if you're in a situation where you need it. Overwhelming Wrath is fine. I liked it when 8-Bound had it. I don't know that... I mean, it is nice to make sure that things are stuck in with Angron because you were going to kill them. And, like, if they can't leave, you were going to kill them. But I don't know. That seems less useful than the other two.
I just don't know if there's enough things that will survive a fight with Angron to make that worthwhile.
Well, and also you have to pick it in the command phase at the start of the battle round. Oh wait, where's that here?
Yeah, start of battle round.
Yeah, at the start of the battle round. I don't know. I don't know that you're ever going to use Overwhelming Aura. I think you're going to use the other two a lot more.
Yeah, I agree. I think those two are pretty solid. He has gone from being like his previous version was almost entirely a force multiplier. I mean, he was good for himself too, but he's a little bit less so. So it's interesting that we've got like Mortarion, who is all about being a force multiplier. His auras all benefit other Death Guard stuff. It just happens that they benefit him as well. You have Fulgrim, who does not give a damn about any of the other Emperor's Children, and that is by design. They have said it. They made that choice to do that. And now you got Angron, who's a little bit in the middle. Yeah, so that's kind of interesting. I wonder with him having devastating wounds if that changes the calculus between if he wins in a fight with Fulgrim or not.
That's a good question. I think it really mostly just depends on who gets the charge and who gets the if Fulgrim does fights first.
Yeah,
like I think that's still really what it comes down to.
Yeah, I would agree. All right, moving on, we've got our some other characters like Khorne the Betrayer, who, as you pointed out, got 2 inches of extra movement.
Yes, 8 inches of movement. Across the board, this army just flies now, like, which is basically what you could almost always had that option because any doubles to get the +2 movement, so you could always pick it. And I think that's why they just decided to give everybody the 2 inches of movement. It's like you were always taking it. So this actually makes the army better. I'm so happy with that.
Yeah. His plasma pistol is now a pretty standard plasma pistol. It's not anything fancy. It lost the extra strength, AP, and damage. Got an extra strength on his melee attacks with Gorechild because he's strength 7 now with 8 attacks.
Yep.
And he rerolls hits and wounds of 1. He still will destroy bodyguard units because he's just that kind of psycho. And his Berserker Fury changed. He no longer automatically fights on death.
Yeah. So he basically just has as we mentioned with the other one, he basically has the Celestine stand back up once per game. So
yeah.
Fine with that. Khorne's good. I think actually having the extra movement really helps him because he's going to be in a foot unit with Berserkers who also got the +2 movement. So yeah, I don't know. He's always been good, but yeah, he's always been good.
Yeah. We get our last named character, Lord Invocatus. He actually lost movement.
Yeah, I thought that was a little interesting. But he gained Deep Strike, which mitigates that for the most part.
Yes. And if he's leading a unit, they also gain Deep Strike. Yeah, being able to give them Deep Strike and then also being able to give them just move through terrain. Just ignore terrain is like, especially with him not being infantry, that's actually very solid.
Be really cool to have on a unit of guys with juggernauts. Anyway.
Yeah. And then Bloody Stampede doing mortal wounds on the charge, which is always good. In an army in which you should always be charging. ABC, always be charging.
Yep.
We have a generic Lord on Juggernaut. Did his armor save get worse?
Yes, because it was 2 up.
So now he's got a similar stat line to Invicata's now. Just one less wound.
Yeah.
But when he's leading a unit, they can move as fast as he can, and they can move through terrain. So
Which
he
is
doesn't
nice.
lose any- Yeah, which is nice. And then let's see, crush all those who stand before us. Is that I'm reading this one? So yeah, 3-inch range of who can fight rather than base to base.
Yes. So just a bigger bubble of who can actually get to fight, which, if he's leading a unit of berserkers, that means that you're going to get a lot more attacks rather than, base to base, and the base within them is 3 inches now. So yeah, that could potentially be really good if you position your models correctly.
Yeah. The Master of Executions, who again has been one of these models where it's like they've always kind of struggled trying to figure out how to properly get this thing balanced, because he either ends up being not good or too good.
I think they nailed it right out of the gate when he had like all of those devastating wounds. He could just murder an entire army by himself for 80 points. Personally, I think that was where the sweet spot was.
I'm gonna say that not many people agree with you on that one. But,
I mean, World Eaters players agree.
Oh, I'm sure they do. But again, he gained the two movement, just kind of like all the Death Guard gained 1 toughness. Yep. Pretty much all these guys gained 2 movement, but he did lose fights first.
Yes, that's the big one going forward. Yeah, because when he was leading a unit of Khorne Berserkers, they gained fights first, which was devastating. I'd have to look. I don't remember. I don't think there's any way to get fights first in this army anymore, other than maybe like a stratagem here or there. So they really seem to have toned that ability down. But he's still good at killing characters, devastating wounds, precision on his acts of dismemberment. He rerolls. Does he reroll the?
He rolls surge moves. Yeah.
Yeah.
And advance rolls.
Oh, and reroll hit and wound against characters.
Yes.
With his melee attacks. So full rerolls, and he's a character assassinator. And then now he gains a CP when you kill a character. So
he's still a solid addition.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, and he's one of the few things that can actually join. Basically the only thing that can join, well, I guess the Lord of Juggernauts can as well, but yeah, you can throw him in a unit of berserkers and add extra attacks and things like that. So yeah, he's still a very solid unit, a very solid option.
Yeah. Let's see. Now we get to our 2 Demon Princes. Again, our Demon Prince on foot is getting the same lone op ability within 3 inches that we saw in the other 2 codexes we've seen so far. I think it'll be a safe bet to say that the Demon Prince on foot in Thousand Suns will get something similar.
Yep. You
gained extra attacks on your strike and sweep, but you lost strength on them.
Yeah, which is interesting because it's +1. It's plus 2 attacks on both strike and sweep, but -2 strength and AP. The AP did go from 0 to 1 on the sweep, so it used to be strength 8, now it's strength 6, 0 AP, now it's 1 AP, so it's a little bit better. I think it kind of comes out in the wash because against certain things that you're probably going to be a little bit harder to wound because of the minus strength, but you're going to be more effective with the damage.
So to compare against the Death Guard, you have the same strength, AP, and damage on them. The difference is you've got extra attacks. 8 and 16 as opposed to 7 and 14, with Death Guard having the benefit of lethal hits, which you don't, but you've just got more hits to throw at things. Also, whenever you charge, you have devastating wounds, which
that is also helpful.
That is very helpful.
One thing that came up, and this is also kind of an across-the-board thing, the Demon Prince, his Infernal Cannon, he's now Ballistic Skill 3 up. Everything in this army that has a shooting attack got 1 worse. So it is now Ballistic Skill 4 army instead of Ballistic Skill 3. That's fine. I usually never shot any of my guns anyway, but I think it's kind of a neat little touch because, Berserkers are more focused on melee, so, they're not going to be as focused and as good as regular Marines shooting.
Right.
So I just thought that was kind of an interesting touch across the board.
Yeah, very much so. And yeah, your Foot Demon Prince, much like the Foot Demon Prince for Death Guard, gives you the ability to use have a unit within 12 inches, use a stratagem for 1 cheaper. Your Demon Prince with Wings does the same thing with triggering battle shock tests with anybody in engagement range as Death Guard Demon Princes. But you also have the chance to do mortal wounds anytime you move over something.
Yeah. So that's nice.
And now the Slaughterbound, your new character, one of your two new characters, or one of your two new units, your newest
One of
character.
the two, yeah. This guy's a beast. I mean, he's got an 8-pound with a bloodthirster like shoved inside him. Which, that's exactly what it means. Movement 10, tough 6, 3-up armor, 6 wounds, OC 1, 5-up invuln. He's got melee attacks, 6 attacks, hitting on 2, strength 8, AP -2, 2 damage. Can join 8-pound units. Any unit that he gains deep strike and scout 6. So 8-pound have scout, exalted 8-pound have deep strike. So he basically gives the unit whichever one they didn't have.
Or no, it's not that he gives the unit to it. It's that he gets both. It's kind of like the Lord
he gets both. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. When he's
so basically,
you can.
So the unit doesn't lose it if he joins it.
That's what it was.
Whichever ability it is. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, this model. Yeah. Okay. I guess I read that wrong. I thought it was the unit. And then let's see here. When he's leading a unit, you can return 1 destroyed bodyguard model to the unit, so you can regenerate 8-pound, which is huge because those guys are individually they're all beasts. So like adding 1 back after they die just is awesome. And then he has the ability once per game to add 3 attacks to his melee weapons and gain devastating wounds for that round. So
Space Marine Captain ability, kind of the finest hour thing that they have.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I was amused to see he has Deadly Demise D3.
I did like that. Yeah, that's hilariously funny.
If you kill him, he may explode into rage.
Yeah, that checks out. I'm really glad because it gives 8-pound. I think you're going to put him in any unit of 8-pound you take. You're probably going to take as many of those as you have units of 8-pound, just because of the ability to bring back destroyed unit, the destroyed models. And he's just more attacks. Like he's a beast.
Yeah. I'm also interested in seeing there's now enough characters to lead all the if you wanted to have 3 units of each 8-pound, you've got enough characters between the Juggy Lords and Invocatus and the Slaughterbound to lead all of them if you wanted to lean into that.
Yeah. No, you do actually now have options which you didn't necessarily before. So
let's see. Speaking of 8-pound and exalted 8-pound, they both gained an inch of movement.
Yep.
They got their weapons consolidated down into 1 profile. That one struck me as interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting because it's basically the midpoint of the old weapons. Because basically the way that it was set up before. So for the 8-pound, you had eviscerators or lacerators. So you had more attacks or fewer attacks, higher strength, lower strength. Lower strength, higher strength. So basically it's okay, instead of 6 and 4, we'll give you 5 attacks. Strength 9, strength 5, we'll just go strength 8 in the middle. AP -2, 2 damage. I like that it consolidates it. That's fine. It was one of the things I did like was about having the heavy chain glaive, which is no longer an option on the sergeant, because it just gave you a boatload of extra attacks. So you do get you get fewer attacks out of an entire unit, but I think the attacks you are getting are better. So it'll come out in the wash, I think, for the most part. They're still really good at killing Marines. 8-pounds are really good at killing Marines or infantry, and exalted 8-pound, as we'll get to in a moment here, murder the heck out of monsters and vehicles.
Yeah. So the 8-pound themselves have scout 6 inches, and then whenever a unit is within 6, a friendly World Eaters unit is within 6 inches of them, every time they target something that's not a monster or vehicle, they add 1 to the hit roll. And if it's a unit that's below half strength, you add 1 to the wound roll. And of course, they always affect themselves. And you're talking a unit of 3, possibly a unit of 6. Probably a unit of 6 is how you would take them. So a unit of 6 with 30 attacks that are hitting on 2s against infantry.
Mm-hmm.
And strength 8, I mean, again, you charge into a unit of Marines, that's 30 attacks that are hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s.
Yeah. At AP -2, 2 damage, you were just wiping that unit.
Right. And then exalted 8-pound, as you said, are just absolute death against vehicles. Fewer attacks.
Yes.
Same strength, strength 8, slightly better AP at AP -3, 2 damage, but anti-monster 3, anti-vehicle 3.
Yeah, when I first saw this, because they used to have strength 14, I think, chain fists, and I saw it was strength 8, and I'm like, oh my god, that sucks. And then I was like, oh, anti-monster 3, anti-vehicle 3. they are going to murder vehicles and monsters like can openers. Which we've talked about this a whole bunch. I want more anti-monster, more anti-vehicle weapons in the game. So
Yes.
I am very happy with the way they did this. And Strength 8 is still plenty good to kill almost any infantry in the game. So they remain being a threat against anything you put them up against.
And I think that's probably they existing with the anti-monster, anti-vehicle 3-up is probably one reason why Decapitating Strikes specifies it only works against infantry. Because if that worked against everything, it would just erase vehicles from the board. Just gone.
Yeah.
So no, so basically they are still following the similar rules and they are still doing them well. They've just adjusted the stats.
Just a probably a less confusing way to get there because now it's just one single stat line. So I like it. It threw me off at first because it didn't make a lot of sense, but reading through it and kind of thinking about it, I'm like, no, this is actually probably just a more streamlined way to do it. So
yeah. And then they've got the ability that if a monster or vehicle tries to fall back from them, they have to make a desperate escape test, which means the monster or vehicle runs the risk of just being removed from the board. So
yeah. Which was interesting because their old unit rule was the one that Angron now has of like the unit doesn't, had to make a test and then couldn't fall back. Yeah. This is probably better.
Yeah. And then we get into your battle line with Khorne Berserkers. So again, extra 2 inches movement. So 8 inches of Khorne Berserker movement. They're still a ridiculously fast army.
100%. Yeah. Like I said, they did lose, -1 ballistic skill for their bolt pistol, plasma pistol, whatever. No, I literally never used those just because, it just never seemed worth the time. The big one that I think kind of stinks a little bit is they did lose the 1 strength on their chain blades. So they're now only strength 4. The advantage for that is like 4 to 5 is like a huge break point because
it is,
strength 5 against Marines, you're wounding them on 3s. Now you're wounding them on 4s. It's probably fine. There's other ways to get the +1 strength or get extra attacks. There's a lot more devastating wounds available in this army. So I get why they did it. I'm interested to see how it affects the points on this unit, but because I do think that was a huge kind of advantage. But that's a little bit disappointing to see that it went down. It went down to 4.
Like you have, like you said, you have ways of getting lethal hits and devastating wounds in this army. Yep. So it's not the end of the world. Also, your unit size doubled.
That's the other big thing that I really liked is that you could go 5 or 10. Now you can go 10 or 20. And 20-man blocks of berserkers are back on the menu, baby. That's insane. I love that. So we're talking about the 120 poxwalkers. How about 120 berserkers?
Oh God.
I gotta build so many more berserkers. It's fine. It's fine. Actually, I have hundreds of old berserkers. That's fine. I will just mix them in.
Yeah. And then you've got you still have your blood surge move, although you add 2 to the result now, so they can blood surge up to 8 inches.
Yes. And we'll get into it later. There's a stratagem where they can just auto advance the blood surge 8 inches. Oof. Amazing. So rolling the +2 movement just into the units is fantastic. I like that a lot. So yeah. And then
we mentioned the icon earlier.
Yeah, so if this unit destroys an enemy unit, you track, add a bloodshed point to them, and then they can spend that bloodshed point to add an extra D6 to the Blessings of Khorne roll, which is awesome because you could potentially stack multiple extra dice and get more reliable results. So
actually, I'm reading this and looking at some of the other units as well, and I think the way it works is they all contribute to a bloodshed point pool.
Yep.
And then whenever at the start of the battle round, you just add that many extra dice and the pool resets.
Yep. Exactly.
So the more icons you have, the better off you are anyway. It doesn't. So it's not as much of a bookkeeping. You don't track per unit. You just unit killed. It's like a blood tithe point.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a better way of doing the blood tithe points. But anyway, we'll get there.
Let's see. Chaos Terminators, as you mentioned earlier, 7-inch movement Terminators.
7-inch movement Terminators. That's insane. Yeah, but still no melee options, but whatever.
Yeah, no dedicated melee options besides like the one dual chain, like dual accursed weapon. Also, no characters who can lead them, which is
which is still disappointing. And The reason why I bring up the no melee options is because, again, just like everything else, they also got one worse at ballistic skill, so they are now 4 up on all of their shooting. So the one okay, this unit you take to shoot also doesn't shoot as well anymore. So it really screams for there to be a melee Terminator option for this army, but whatever.
Yeah. I mean, you still get the reroll charge rolls against the closest target and shooting rerolling hits to shoot against the closest target. So it's not terrible, but they're considering the other options you have in here, and there's not that many good force multipliers for them. I don't know how often you would even bother taking them.
No,
they just don't have the support they need.
I don't know that I've ever taken them more than once or twice, since actually, this entire edition. Actually, I'm trying to think, even last edition, I don't know that I ever used them more than once or twice. They're fine. They're good. They're tough. They're, they now move more, so that also helps. But yeah, I think you have better options.
Yeah. And actually, moving into cultist style, you've got jackals who are not battle line. And maybe were they ever battle line?
They were battle line before. Yeah, so they become battle line if you take them in the jackals detachment. But yeah, now they're not, which is fine because I think a lot of people competitively took a bunch of them just to tag objectives and run around the back line and do that, and that's not what World Eaters thematically should be doing. So limiting them is fine.
Yeah. Because they do have sticky objectives with the new wording, kind of like we saw on Plague Bearers. They do get an 1 inch extra movement, not 2. Yep. They're not that cool. And a +1 toughness, which is nice because they lost to Feel No Pain.
Yes. Honestly, I kind of wish that I would have preferred, I think, the 3 toughness and the Feel No Pain, especially since there's no option in the blessings table to get Feel No Pain. Because before you could get them up pretty easily to a 5 up Feel No Pain. I don't know. The 4 toughness I still don't think is going to be great. They're still at 6 up saves, so anything with AP is just going to kill them. They are pretty much just, action monkeys at this point. Yeah. Which is fine, but yeah.
And then we've got the Goremongers who are even faster jackals.
Yeah. These guys are fun.
Because 9 inches of movement. Also T4 like the regular jackals. Also shitty save with a 6+.
Mm-hmm.
But infiltrators and being able to just once per turn do a responsive move to somebody getting within 9 inches of you, which means you're likely to get it just makes them much more likely you can get the jump on them on your turn.
Yeah. No, this is a good unit. The chain blades have lance, which is nice. So if they're charging, they get a little extra. There's an option in there to take to swap out your chain blade for a pistol or the blood harpoon. I don't know that you'll ever do it. I think you'd rather have the better chain blade weapon for them. But yeah, they're a good unit. Again, being able to move 9 inches, move around the table, react, infiltrate, they're going to be really good for objective holding. They don't sticky the objective like the jackals do, but still, I think they'll be good for action economy and things like that.
Yeah. You've got your Chaos Spawn, which 10 inches of movement. T5, so not as tough as the Nurgle one, but nor should they be.
Sure.
5 up, Feel No Pain, Scouts 8 inches. No deadly demise. They're not so swollen that they explode. They don't pop when you cook them. But being able to advance and charge is very solid for them.
Pretty nice.
Jackals are still probably the better action monkeys, but a couple of Chaos Spawn will still mess with people. And also, they put out even more attacks than the Death Guard one, because Death Guard are D6+2 attacks. You get D6+4.
Yeah.
So
no, Spawn are good cheap units to go screen and do some attacks and take out smaller targets. This is actually probably a decent point to bring this up. This is just something I noticed when I was going through. All of the units in the index were called World Eaters Defiler, World Eaters Chaos Spawn, World Eaters Demon Prince. They have all been renamed to just the generic Chaos Spawn, Forge Fiend, Defiler, Hellbrute, Helldrake, whatever. I find that interesting because the unit profiles and the abilities are vastly different between Death Guard and Chaos Marines and World Eaters. So I find it weird that they simplified all the names and be Chaos Spawn. There's now 3 units with Chaos Spawn name. that all have like wildly different rules. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought that was kind of odd.
Yeah. I imagine it. It does kind of clean things up. It's like we're in the Death Guard book. We don't need everything to be Death Guard this, Death
Sure.
Guard that, Death Guard. It's like I get it, but also, yeah, it does get confused. Like, well, it's Chaos Spawn. What does a Chaos Spawn do? Well, you look up Chaos Spawn in the app, and assuming you have them all unlocked and can actually view the rules,
Yeah.
you're gonna get three results that are just similar enough to be confusing.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how that works. And, that happened in the Death Guard one too. They are all just named the generic names as well. But yeah, very interesting that they did that.
Yeah. Moving on, the Hellbrute, which got 3 inches of extra movement.
Yes.
And as you pointed out, all its shooting went to 4 up instead of 3 up, which, considering that unless you take the double weapon Hellbrute, means you're going to have one arm that is not going to be doing everything that you want it to. But that's fine, because would you run a Hellbrute even shooting in this army? Would you just run the double fist and get the extra attacks?
I probably wouldn't. Well, here's the thing. I may not necessarily run the double fist.
I would probably run hammer.
I might run fist or hammer, or fist and like power scourge for like the extra attacks, which creates different options. Because before you had to do double fist and you got twin link. Now you just get extra attacks. So like a fist or like the hammer and the power scourge becomes really interesting, because then you can go after big things and swarms, and you get these extra attacks. The other change that came up in here is the frenzy rule, where before, when this thing got shot or like punched at, it could immediately make an attack against something else, like just anything within range. So if somebody shot it, if you had the missile launcher, you could then go, okay, well, that tank just shot me. Now I'm going to shoot this unit of Marines over here. Which was kind of neat, because you could kind of react to it. And it was beneficial to take a ranged weapon, potentially, because you had the ability to shoot at different things. Now you can only fire back at the thing that shot you. So I think even then, taking ranged weapons is a little less appealing than it used to be.
Yeah. And also, that frenzy carries over into the fight phase, so if somebody punches you, like they have to if they're in close combat with you, you get a free punch back. You
were able to do that before in fight as well, because my Hellbrute took out a Brutalis Dread, because the Brutalis Dread assaulted me, fought, didn't kill me. I punched back, took about like half his wounds off, and then when it came around to like my turn in the fight phase, I got to go again. Yeah. So it was awesome.
Yeah. And I will note, you cannot take a hammer and a scourge. They both replace the missile launcher.
Oh, okay, fine.
So you could take a fist and a scourge. I mean,
sure.
A fist is still strength 12, 3 damage. Like,
they're still really good. Yeah,
it's
still really good.
It's not a bad choice.
Yeah.
You've got your Defiler, which again also added 2 inches of movement. Still has the Scuttling Walker ability. The Defiler cannon, yours has Rapid Fire 3.
Yeah, I actually think that I think if you're going to take something that's shooting, I think you're going to take the Defiler instead of a shooting Hellbrute at this point.
Yeah.
Because the Defiler got much better with the extra movement, and the Defiler cannon is so much better.
Right. And instead of getting the removing cover ability that Death Guard have, you just get, if somebody's set up within 12 inches of you, you can just shoot or charge them. So it's like, yeah, just set this thing that is huge, like in an area where your opponent might try to deep strike, and it just be like, nah, you don't want to do that.
Right. And he gained some extra attacks with the Defiler Claws and the Scourge, and like,
yeah.
I mean, the Defiler Claw attacks, 6 attacks, weapon skill 3, 16 strength, AP -3. And then you get the extra attacks on top of that, which is 3 attacks at strength 12. Like, insane.
Yeah.
So, melee monster.
Absolutely. Then we get into the Chaos Land Raider, which, yep, that sure is a Land Raider.
Yep.
You do get extra attacks for the tracks, and yes, all your shooting got worse.
Yeah.
But
they did change the capacity up to 14, so that you can take a full 6-man unit of 8-bound and a slaughterbound in it. So you can include all of them in one Land Raider, where before I think it was 12, so you couldn't. But yeah, it's a Land Raider.
Yep. And then the Forge Fiend and Mauler Fiend. The Forge Fiend, who, why does this army have one and Emperor's Children doesn't? When this army,
especially now that it's ballistic skill 4.
Yeah, it's like, like you'd think this thing that is really only made to shoot, like if there's one army it doesn't fit in, it's this one, and the fact that shooting got worse.
I mean, you did gain extra attacks with the melee weapons, but yeah, that's not why you're taking this thing.
No. And, being able to re-roll the hit roll against something within 18 inches, that's nice.
Yeah.
Like that's solid. And the guns all have rapid fire, so like you can put out like a lot of shots, because also 18 inches will put you firmly into rapid fire range. So this is a shooting platform that is going to want to get as close to you as it can, but also you don't have access to assault in this army. Like you wouldn't want to advance this thing anyway. It's the Forge Fiend just fits into this army so strangely. That one's just like, I don't get why you're here.
It's not the worst fit, but yes, it is like, why is this still here? Because like we haven't talked about the units that went away, because no units went away. Like World Leaders lost nothing, which frankly is the biggest win to me. Like I thought we were going to lose access to a lot of these things, and like it makes no sense that Emperor's Children didn't get this stuff, and World Leaders still keeps the Forge Fiend and the Predators, and wild.
Yeah. On the other hand, the Mauler Fiend, again, 2 extra inches of movement because, goddamn. +2 attacks with the Mauler. The Mauler.
Yeah.
8 attacks with strength 14, AP -2, D6 +1 damage. If you charge something that's below starting strength, add 1 to the charge roll, add 2 if they're below half strength. So it really wants to go after wounded things. And then, and if you're attacking things that are below starting strength, +1 to hit, which means all those Mauler Fiend fists are hitting on 2s, and they're probably wounding on 2s against most things. With the if they're below half strength. So yeah, it's a cleanup monster. And then with the Lasher tendrils as well. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, because you're never going to take this with the Magna Cutter. You're just going to take the extra attacks,
especially because they hit on 4. Why would you take the Magna Cutters?
It's no, Mauler Fiend's a beast, always has been.
Yep. Your Chaos Predators, which I like the fact that in your notes you're like, you will never take these.
Yep. I mean, they're Annihilators and they're Predators. The Destructors, like, Predators are good. They're not a fit in this army. I don't know why you would ever take them, especially now that they hit on 4-ups across the board. Like,
right.
They gained extra melee attacks with their armored tracks. Like,
yay!
I just don't know why you would ever take these.
Well, yeah, it's like the Annihilator, now it has reroll wound and damage against vehicles and monsters if they're within 18 inches.
Yeah.
Or I could just bring a Mauler Fiend that can get up and punch them. The Chaos Predator Destructor, which suppresses infantry units. Infantry is one thing your army does not have any problem dealing with.
Right. Yeah. Neither one of those have, in my opinion, any real use in this army.
Right.
Actually, they're not the worst. They're not the most useless unit in this army, because I just scrolled down and saw the other one. But they are close to useless in this army.
Moving on to Chaos Rhinos, their thing, again, they lost self-repair, but instead you get a reactive disembark.
Yes.
Which is kind of wild. And the thing is, it's like, okay, so if they fall back and move within 9 inches of the model, you can disembark, which gets you 3 inches closer. You wouldn't get the movement after disembark. You would just be within 3 inches. But that puts you within at a 6-inch range, and that's a really good place to be for like a heroic intervention or something, or if you've got a countercharge ability.
Yeah, because there's a lot of abilities to get extra stuff like that. So very good, very nice.
Yeah. And then there's the Helldrake, the other thing you marked, you will not take this in your notes.
Yeah. It's just not good.
It's an aircraft. Aircraft are just in a really bad space in this edition.
And not only that, this is the anti-aircraft aircraft, so like even worse. It's like, I mean,
it'll destroy an aircraft with like 6
Yeah.
attacks, hitting on 2s with anti-fly 2-up devastating. Yeah, it's really good at that. It's just that's a job that no one asked for.
Yeah, there's no role for it. The closest I will make an argument that this might be useful is the fact that it does have decent melee, like with the Helldrake claws. The Bale Flamer being a torrent and torrent weapon isn't impacted by the 4-up ballistic skill change, but unless this thing is like 50 points, I don't think you'll ever take it.
No.
And I don't want flyers to be super cheap. That also is a bad solution. GW,
Right.
in case you're listening. Like that's not the answer to make them cheaper. The answer is to fix them. Or
basically, we are still dealing with the fact that flyers, like making flyers a dedicated thing in the game, was probably a mistake, and
yes,
that was years and years ago, and now the pendulum has swung the other way to okay, so they're still in the game, we're just going to make them absolutely pointless.
Speaking of not absolutely pointless,
the Lord of Skulls, which it does, 4 extra inches of movement, moving 12 inches. That was unnecessary.
It was glorious. I love this.
Yeah. It does get a bit hurt by the fact that all its shooting went to 4-up, consistent with everything else we've seen in the army, although everything also got rapid fire. Everything got rapid fire.
So you get more shots, which is good.
Yeah. Like your Gatling cannon is now rapid fire. So 18 shots with the Gatling cannon within 24 inches. The Gore Storm cannon is rapid fire 3, so D6 plus 6 shots at 12 inches. Demon Gore cannon is D6 plus 3 shots at 9 inches. I mean, so that kind of makes up for the fact, I'm going to be missing a bit more often, but I'll have more shots to make up for it if I get close enough. Which you want to get close. It's a World Eater's army.
I almost feel like what I need to do with like the next Lord of Skulls conversion I do is get like a Stampa and just like slap a Khorne logo on it, because that's kind of what they've turned this into, it seems.
Right. I do like that it got the new rule that knights have, where they can move through terrain, but they risk being battle shocked.
Yeah.
Which, like, if the terrain is short enough, they can move through it with no problem. If the terrain is like an obscuring building or something, they are potentially battle shocked. And that's only on normal advance or fallback, not on charges, but still very handy to get yourself into a solid charge position. And then, Idol of Blessed Blood, just you're rolling 96 instead of 8.
Yeah,
or
just an extra D6 for your blessings rolls for every one of these guys. And there's a detachment that lets you take that you would want to take multiples of these. So... also, just to throw the cherry on top, +1 extra attack on the strike and +3 attacks on the sweep. So now you're at 6 and 18 attacks.
With those strikes being strength 16, AP -4, 8 damage.
Yeah.
I
love this model. I love the Lord of Skulls so much.
And then we get into our demon units. You got Scarbrand. Everybody gets a named greater demon. Yep. You are no exception. So you get Scarbrand brought over, who also got 2 extra inches of movement and a 3-up armor save. His ranged weapon got 3 extra strength, which is just him yelling so hard it kills people.
Relatable.
It's just literally, it's the Bellow of Endless Fury. It's a strength 8, AP -1, 2d6 shot torrent. He yells at guardsmen and they explode. He's got a 6-inch aura of +1 attacks for all blood legions, which is Khorne demons.
Yeah.
Within the aura, which also he gives to himself. So
right.
So that's 9 attacks on the strike, 17 on the sweep. He did lost an AP on the bellow. I think that's fine. Also, at being able to advance and charge, that's where it went. He took it
right.
all.
He can advance and charge. I'm cool with that. Scarbrand's cool. Like, I think if you were to lean into the demon part of this, it would specifically be to be like, okay, Angron and Scarbrand are going to go like tag team and clean up this place. So
right. Both extremely angry fellows.
Yeah.
Bloodthirster gained compared to its Chaos Demons version, seems mostly the same. Got 3 extra attacks with its lash and a 3-up armor save.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise,
so-
it's got a 6-inch aura of +1 to hit for other Blood Legion demons, and potentially doing or number of mortal wounds to anybody in engagement range. So, just solid melee monster. Which, I mean, it's a Bloodthirster. What else is it going to be?
Exactly.
Bloodletters getting 2 inches of movement, also very solid for them.
Yeah.
Did they lose an OC though? They're only OC1
Yeah,
now.
they're only OC1. They were OC2.
Yeah. Have to make desperate escape tests to fall back from them unless you're a monster vehicle. And if they're battle shocked, it's -1. We've seen similar abilities already today. You've got your blood crushers, which are your juggy demons. They got an armor save of 3 up. Otherwise, they still do mortal wounds on the charge. And then flesh hounds can go back into deep strike from engagement range, or if they're not in engagement range.
Yeah. Which is useful because I think if you're gonna, like I said, I think if you're gonna include demons, I think it's really just to add in the big hitters of like your Bloodthirsters or Scarbrand, and then like Flesh Hounds, like the ability to just, uppy downy and redeploy them rapidly gives you another just really good action economy unit.
Yeah. All right. So now that we have all our units, let's talk about detachments. You've got the generic one, the Berserker Warband, which I think is pretty much like the Index version. You're playing Blood Angels, +1 attack and +2 strength on the charge.
Yeah, so it actually used to only be +1 attack, +1 strength, so it did get a little bit better there. But yeah, otherwise it's mostly the same.
Yep. Your enhancements are all for just World Eaters models, so any of the characters who can take enhancements, which is pretty much your Juggy Lord and your Master of Executions, and I guess your Slaughter Brute or Slaughterbound could take these as well.
Slaughterbound can also, yeah.
So you've got the Berserker Glaive, which it just adds 1 to the attacks and damage of your melee weapons, except for extra attacks weapons.
Yeah, they tone the Berserker Glaive way down because it's used to be like that's the one that you would put on the Master of Executions and then go murder an entire army with. So fine with that.
Yeah. Helm of Brazen Ire, anytime somebody's allocated to you, subtract 1 from the damage. That one on a Slaughterbound could be pretty handy.
Yeah, that one changed a little bit. It used to have the damage, so now it's just a flat straight 1, -1. That's good.
Yeah.
And it doesn't specifically say that it reduces it, that it's -1 to a minimum of 1. So
I have a feeling that'll get eroded.
I imagine that'll get eroded,
fast.
but yeah.
Because
like
that was a problem early in the edition, and they're like, oh wait, we can't have this guy be immune to small arms fire.
So my Slaughterbound just doesn't care about bolter fire anymore. That's cool. Yeah, that'll get eroded.
Favorite of Khorne. Anytime you make a Blessings of Khorne roll, if he's on the battlefield, re-roll up to 2 of the d6 rolled, which means if Angron's on the field, you re-roll everything.
Yeah. Is interesting. It's a little less powerful because what it used to be is you would just discard the previous roll and re-roll everything. So you only re-roll 2, but it's a little bit more targeted, and if you have Angron, you can effectively still do that and like re-roll everything. Or up to 8 because you could potentially have more than 8 now. So
that's true. Yeah. And then Battlelust, reroll charge rolls, and in addition, if the Unbridled Bloodlust, which is the double ones, the one that anybody can take, which is reroll charges, since everybody can already reroll charges, you can add 1 to the charge rolls, which means effectively this is most likely going to be a +1 charge roll, unless you really need those other abilities.
Yeah, I think this is probably the one that you don't take the most. Like, it used to let you do 0 CP heroic interventions. This is less useful. Like, +1 charge isn't bad, but I think I'd probably take any of the other 3. Like I said, I think the favorite of Khorne is the one that you're going to take the most, but yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Your strats, Blood Offering, 1 CP, when a World Eaters unit from your army was just destroyed while it was within the range of an objective marker, you sticky the objective. Like, you died defending the objective, it's still yours.
And it just has the only change to it is they cleaned up the level, the level of control wording. So
yeah. Hack and Slash for 1 CP, improve your AP by 1 in the fight phase.
That's huge because honestly, like, devastating wounds and like AP were things that you could not improve previously. So being able to select, like, have options to improve those as well, really opens up the abilities for some of these units to actually impact more things. So I like that.
Yeah. Frenzied Resilience for 2 CP. When somebody targets one of your World Eaters units, subtract 1 for the incoming damage. It's fine. Solid.
Yeah. Always good.
Skulls for the Skull Throne. Just after you destroyed a character for 1 CP, make a new set of Blessings of Khorne roll.
Yeah.
Pick one ability that you've generated, and that one's in play in addition to anything else that was already in play.
Yeah. That one's always fun. That's exactly the same as it was before. It used to be.
Oh, and it's for character or monster. Yeah.
Yeah, character or monster. So exactly the same as it used to be. It used to be for the Blood God. But yeah, it's always useful to be able to put extra blessings up, because I think the blessings chart now is more powerful than it used to be, because, like, again, the ability to slap at devastating wounds on melee on top of everything else is huge. So yeah, I think that's going to be useful. Very useful.
Yes. Apoplectic Frenzy lets your a unit of Berserkers advance and charge, which is very solid. You'll need that since you no longer have it from Blessings of Khorne.
Yep.
And then this one you mentioned earlier, Berserker's Wrath, you just blood surge 8 inches instead of rolling.
Yep. Love it.
And with a unit that could go up to 20, it's like, yeah, sure, you killed a couple Berserkers. I don't care. I got 18 more where that came from.
Yeah. The only thing that I do, they lost a couple strats, a couple got reworded. There was one that was like a battle, you had to make a battle shock test after you killed a unit. And the one that I think I'm going to miss the most is for the Skull Throne, which was +1 to wound against a character, monster, or vehicle. I use that a lot with some of these units where I was like, oh, I need that +1 to get over the hump to make this easier, or to, like, go from a 5 to from a 6 to a 5 or a 3 to a 4, like that. So lethal hits and devastating wounds are a little bit more common in the army now, so it's less needed. But that was one that I used a lot. That is now gone.
All right, now we're moving on into new detachments. There are 4 more to cover. You've got the Cult of Blood, which I think we had just kind of alluded to with the
Lord of Skulls and Cultists.
Yes. So an interesting attachment rule: Idols of Khorne. At the start of your command phase, you can select one of the Idols of Khorne abilities. Until the start of your next command phase, that ability is active, and its effects apply to all World Eaters, Titanic, and monster units from your army. And each one of these, it's an aura that has a 6-inch range if it's a monster, 9 inches if it's Titanic. And the auras are Idol of Infinite Rage. Jackals and Goremongers inside the aura add 1 to their hit rolls and 1 to the wound rolls whenever they attack. Idol of Burning Wrath. Jackals or Goremongers within the aura add 1 to their move and 1 to advance and charge rolls. Or Idol of Blessed Blood. Jackals and Goremongers within the aura get a 4-up invulnerable save. It is a shame you can use these only once per battle, and they only last for 1 turn.
There are ways...
One range of command phase to command phase.
There are ways, stratagems, and things that you can use them more, but yeah, all cat out of the bag. I don't think this detachment's particularly good. I think it could be fun.
Yes.
Kind of like the Poxwalkers one. I think, like, it's fun to take the big toys and then flood the board with, garbage cultists. If you could use things more often, or if, like, you picked one and it was up for the game and you couldn't switch, maybe it'd be better, but yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Enhancements. Chosen of the Blood God. This one's for a monster model. Add 3 inches to the range of the aura abilities, which basically makes its auras the same as a Titanic size.
Yep.
Butcher Lord, for infantry only, you can be attached to Jackals or Goremongers, and if you're attached to Goremongers, you have Infiltrators because they have Infiltrators.
That's cool, because normally you can't attach anything to those units, so I like that. Also, we think we skipped over this. Jackals and Goremongers become battle lined in this detachment.
Yes.
So you can flood the board with these.
Right. And then let's see, Brazen Form for monsters only. Add +1 toughness and 5-up Feel No Pain.
Love it.
Yeah, I mean, you're basically on a Demon Prince. I would think Demon Prince on foot, because then you could have a lone op while you're running along with your bands of Jackals, and then get basically the Jackals become a Demon Prince delivery service.
Yes.
And then finally, Strategic Slaughter, World Eaters, any World Eaters model. After both players have deployed their armies, you get to redeploy up to 3 Jackal or Goremonger units, and you can put them back in strategic reserves if you want to.
So that's good. Like,
Yeah.
that used to be Lord Invocatus's ability, like where he could do that with 3 units. So yeah, that could be fun to be able to do that with like Goremongers, especially since they can't infiltrate and do some of the other fun stuff out of strategic reserves.
Right. And then getting into our strats, Bloody Vengeance for a CP. Just after one of your World Eater's monsters or Titanic units was destroyed, until the end of the battle, your Jackals and Goremongers reroll hits against that target, which may be useless if it was killed by a vehicle and they just kind of go up and kind of weakly slap against it, but
Yeah. Thematically, it's fun.
hey, if you give them lethal hits, it could matter.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if something killed a monster or a Titanic unit, it's going to walk through the Jackals. So, yeah, but
Yeah,
useful.
Drawn to the slaughter for 2 CP, send a Jackals unit that's been destroyed back into strategic reserves.
Do you like that?
Yep. And can't, does the, standard
Just
caveat
the
of it
unit,
won't restore a character, yeah. In the Shadow of Brass Idols for 1 CP, in your shooting phase, just after one of your Jackals or Goremongers units has been selected, they get 6 up, 5 feel no pain. If they're within 6 inches of a monster or 9 inches of a Titanic unit, they get 5 up, feel no pain instead. So that's how they'll get their feel no pain back.
Yeah.
To potentially shrug off. And again, they're going to be wanting to hug those units anyway and be in those auras. So yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I like that.
Bloodthirsty Horde. For 1 CP, choose a Jackal or Goremonger unit that is within engagement range of one or more enemy units, and they do that 3-inch bubble of 3-inch range of determining who's in engagement range that we saw on. Oh gosh, which unit was that?
It was one of the which one was it here?
So the Juggernaut Lord.
Yeah, on the Juggernaut Lord. So
yeah.
I mean, that's useful because it's going to let you get more attacks in with Jackals and Goremongers. So yeah, never bad.
Fail not the Blood God. Anytime you pick a Jackal or Goremonger unit in the fight phase, they reroll hit rolls of 1. If they're inside that icon aura range, they reroll all hits instead. And again, you always want to be in that range if you can help it. And then finally, Brazen Idol for 2 CP. Select a monster or Titanic unit from your army. Select one of those idols until the start of your next command phase, one of the idol auras, and that ability is in play for that particular vehicle or monster, even if you've already used that one. But you can only use it once per battle.
Once per battle, and it's 2 CP, and it's limited. So it's, I don't want to discount the fact that it isn't useful. It's just like, That's kind of my whole thing with this. Like, I might play this just because I like Jackals and I like Lord of Skulls, so smash them together and have fun. To me, this doesn't seem like it would be a super effective way to play, because Jackals and Goremongers are not good enough at killing things, especially to the rest of this army. And I don't know. I know that top level competitive players can make cultist heavy lists work. I've never been able to, and I've never found them that fun to play. So it may just be a personal I don't like this as much type thing, rather than, oh, this can't be good. But yeah.
All right, moving on. It's the one you had been waiting for, the Khorne Daemonkin. Your slightly dejected side tells me it was not quite what you were hoping for.
I am glad it's back. It is there's nostalgia here, but in my notes I was like, yeah, sometimes you just can't go back.
Right.
I think for what it is, it's fine. We'll get into it and but ultimately at the end of the day, it doesn't do what the Nurgle one does, which is the units, the Plague Marine, the Death Guard units and the Nurgle demons play off each other. Themes don't really do that. It's oh, you gain benefits that apply to the demons. It's that's cool, but if I wanted to do that, I'd just play demons. So I don't know. Right. It doesn't do the things that the old KDK did that I liked about it. I'd have to play it and see if it actually works the way, if it works, it might, but it's not exactly what I was hoping for. But I get that was a long time ago, and that's not going to happen.
Right. So, like all the demon detachments we've seen, you can take up to half your army as demons. They can't be your warlord, etc., etc.
Yep.
And your detachment rule, Blood Tithe. Yes, it's a return to Blood Tithe points, but not quite the same. So, every time one of your Blood Legions or World Eaters units, i.e., anytime a unit in your army, destroys an enemy unit, you roll a d6. On a 3-up, you get a Blood Tithe point. Now, fortunately, Blood Tithe points don't go away the way they did the old one. But at the start of your command phase, you can spend 1 or more Blood Tithe points to activate one of the following abilities until the end of the battle. So there's Enraged Abjuration for 2 Blood Tithe points. Blood Legions and World Eaters models from your army get 5-up Feel No Pain against psychic attacks and mortal wounds. Okay, 5-up Feel No Pain against mortal wounds, regardless of the source, very solid.
Yeah, not bad.
Demonic Rage for 3 Blood Tithe points. Melee weapons equipped by the Blood Legions units from your army have Lance. Solid, but doesn't offer anything to the World Eaters. And that's a trend we'll see continuing. Boon of Blood for 4 Blood Tithe points. 4-up Invulnerable for your demon units. That's really solid. That's
excellent. Yes.
Very good. And then Might of Khorne for 5 Blood Tithe points. Your Blood Legion units get Blessings of Khorne.
Which is
also
huge.
Really, really good. But let's also consider 5 Blood Tithe points is going to be hard to get because it's not like the old version of Khorne Daemonkin where you got a Blood Tithe point every time a unit died. It didn't matter if it was your unit or an enemy unit, just every time something died, and you could kind of game your list to work with that. This is just it has to be you killing units. So Khorne very much does care from whence the blood flows in this case.
And not only that, a 3-up after you kill the unit, so it's not even guaranteed. That's my biggest sticking point with this. I think they either should have done away with the roll, or keep the roll and you get the roll whenever a unit is destroyed too. I think either one of those fixes makes this obtainable. Because I think right now it's going to be very difficult to get to the useful options. Because, like, yes, 5-up Feel No Pain against mortal wounds is good. That is the least useful of all of the abilities. The ones you're probably going to want to hoard points to get to the other options that are better. And I just don't know. I want to know. I want to see how this works. I just don't know how quickly you could get there.
Yeah. I mean, if you have cold dice, I mean, we've all had those games where nothing seems to go right. If you are rolling ones, like, how many games have I played with sisters where it's like 1s and 2s on all my miracle dice? Hey, this has been great. I see the same thing happening to a Khorne Daemonkin player and being very frustrating, where your army rule just stops working. Like, it doesn't work at all. And also the fact that, again, the World Eaters half of your army gets nothing from this.
The way that I think I would play this, and this is just me like thinking about like how I'd use it. I would take the minimum amount of like World Eaters that you need to in this, because you can take half of it as demons. Take the minimum amount of World Eaters, and mostly for like cultists or to do action stuff, things like that. Maybe some stuff for shooting and things like that. But I think you want to load up on demons and try to focus with that. Like it doesn't provide enough of a benefit to the World Eaters half of the World Eaters army for me to be excited about this.
Yeah. All right, so your enhancements. Icon of War for any World Eaters model. When a friendly Blood Legions unit is within 6 inches of you, they have Blessings of Khorne. If the Might of Khorne ability is active for your army, which is that one where your Blood Legions get Blessings of Khorne, then instead it's a 6-inch aura of reroll battle shock tests for Blood Legions. I think that one becomes a must-have because that actually makes gives you the kind of synergy that you were expecting in this. I almost think that should, like, the 6-inch bubble of Blessings of Khorne should have been the detachment. Those should have, that would have been a better detachment ability. Blood Forged Armor. I think this one is also a must take. Blood Legions or World Eaters model, the bearer has a 2-up save, and if they're destroyed, you get a Blood Tithe point.
Yes. I like that.
Disciple of Khorne for a Juggernaut Lord only. They can attach to Blood Crushers and Flesh Hounds, and they become Blood Legions rather than World Eaters.
See, this is the type of synergy that I want out of this. Like, let me throw a Lord on Juggernaut into a unit of Blood Crushers. Let me throw a Master of Executions in a unit with Bloodletters. Like, let's do this, and like let's actually have synergies rather than just a bunch of separate army, models that are all fighting the same target.
Yeah. And then finally, the Blade of Endless Bloodshed. Okay, so I'm thinking we're going to have four enhancements, and you can only take 3. I think Disciple of Khorne is the one-off one, and that's just if you don't take a Juggernaut Lord. Because Blade of Endless Bloodshed is add 1 to your attack, strength, and damage of the bear's melee weapons, and each time the bear's unit destroys an enemy unit with a melee attack, you don't roll for a Blood Tithe point, it's just automatic. You kind of have to have that. Like, give that to like a Master of Execution in a large Berserker pack.
Yeah, like as much as I love the Disciple of Khorne, that's the odd one out. Like they're all good enhancements, but yeah, like as fun as it is to like throw one into a Blood Crusher unit there, it's like no, the other 3 are just better. Like and are almost auto includes to be able to get to make this work.
Yeah, because like Icon of War is, like I said, that's the synergy you wanted from this army anyway, to give the demons the blessings of Khorne, and the other 2 you need to build up Blood Tithe points. You just have to.
The other thing that I put in the notes here, just because we're talking about enhancements, they didn't bring back the Go Red Rinker or Gore Drinker. If anybody remembers the Jaded Gamer cast, that's a joke from like 12 years ago. So yeah, Go Red Rinker. I never get to make that joke anymore, so I'm gonna do it now.
No one knows what you're talking about, old man.
I know, and it's fine. I've accepted this.
All right, so moving into strats, we've got Summoned by Slaughter for a CP. Select a Bloodletters unit from your army that's in reserves. Choose any phase when the last model in unit is destroyed. Before removing it from play, you basically deep strike the Bloodletters within 9 inches of where that destroyed model was, and not in engagement range of any enemy models. But that doesn't say. But you can still be like right next to them otherwise.
Yeah. I do like that because again, a unit dies and then boom, Bloodletters just pop up in their place. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Demonic Fury, select a Blood Legion unit from your army in the start of the fight phase. Select a World Eaters unit within 6 inches. The World Eaters unit has Lance. If Demonic Rage is active, which is the 3 Blood Tithe point where Blood Legions units have Lance, then the weapons also get Twin Linked.
Yeah.
So,
very useful.
Synergy for your World Eaters. Nice.
And Lance is good to have in this army because you were always wanting to be charging, so Lance is a good ability to have as like a blanket add-on.
Right. A Worthy Skull. Just after one of your Blood Legions or World Eaters units kills a character or monster, you gain D3 Blood Tithe points, and you can immediately spend them if you want.
Yes. That's another one that if you're really going to make this work, you were going to be using that quite a bit.
Right. Blessing of Burning Blood for 1 CP. Select a Blood Legion unit from your army within 6 inches of a World Eaters unit that was just shot at or is going to be shot at. The World Eaters get a 5-up invulnerable save. If Boon of Blood, which is the Blood Legions, have a 4-up invulnerable save, Blood Tithe benefit, then the World Eaters get a 4-up invulnerable save. Yeah.
I mean, 4 or 5 up invuln's good.
Yep. Demon Tide for 1 CP. Select a World Eaters unit from your army in your command phase, and then select a Blood Legions unit within 6 inches of it. They can bring back a mounted unit, D3 beast models, or up to D6 infantry models. No, you don't have to do anything for that. You just spend a CP, restore models.
That is nice. Yeah. Useful. Very useful.
And then finally, Murder Call. At the end of your opponent's fight phase, select a Blood Legions unit from your army that is on the battlefield and not in engagement range. It goes back into reserves, which will play very nicely with this Summoned by Slaughter ability. So you can just have Bloodletter units bouncing up and down.
This isn't bad. It isn't what I want in my mind. That's my only thing about it. I think you could have fun with this, and I think you could be useful with it. The problem is that unlike some of the other god-specific demons, Khorne demons just do melee, and you have plenty of melee, so they're not really adding anything unique or different. So
right.
I like what they're trying to do with it, but I don't know. I don't know that I would play this one.
Yeah. Which is unfortunate, because that was the one you were probably hoping for the most.
Yeah.
Moving on, one that you might be more likely to play, the Possessed Slaughter Brand, where all your possessed units, which are your 8-bound, your Exalted 8-bound, your Slaughter Bound, get D6-inch surge moves.
Yeah. This is probably the one I'll be using the most, because this is awesome.
Your enhancements, Malicious Vigor, Slaughterbound model only. Each time the bearer's unit makes one of those surge moves, you just automatically remove 6. If you shoot at them, they just move 6. You don't roll for it. Killing Clarity for any World Eater's demon model, so demon princes as well. Each time the bearer's unit destroys an enemy unit, roll a d6. On a 4-up, you gain a CP. Frenzied Focus, again, demon model only. Each time a model in the bearer's unit makes an attack, a critical hit is scored on a 5-up instead of a 6. Which is good if you're...
Absolutely awesome, yeah.
Yeah, especially when you've got access to sustained hits and lethal hits, things like that.
Yeah.
And then Violent Demise, demon model only. The bear's deadly demise ability inflicts mortal wounds on a 2-up instead of on a 6. In addition, it's deadly demise 3-up instead of deadly demise D3.
That's just rude. That one's just rude. You only take that if you just want to be rude to your opponent. Which, you're playing a World Eater's army, so you're probably going to take that, because, rude's the whole point. Yeah, Frenzied Focus is the standout for me, though. Being able to get critical hits on a 5 instead, 5-up, yeah, that's huge.
I'm going to say the weakest one is probably Killing Clarity, because it's not as much as extra command points are. As someone who has played Tau and knows the frustration of an ethereal who cannot make a command point because he keeps rolling 1, 2s, and 3s.
Yeah,
not a fan. All right, moving on to stratagems. Demonic Resistance for 2 CP. Just after somebody has chosen to shoot at one of your possessed units, subtract 1 from the wound roll.
It's clutch. That can come in very clutch.
Yeah. Until the end of the phase, so if they keep shooting at you, it's still -1 to be wounded. Demonic Strength for 1 CP. When one of your possessed units is chosen to fight, if it's 8-bound and you're fighting something that's not a monster or vehicle, add 1 to the damage of the attack. If you're Exalted 8-bound and you're fighting a monster or vehicle, add 1 to the damage of the attack. Oh, damn.
That one's... The reason why you might take the Killing Clarity one is just because you're going to want to use this Demonic Strength every single freaking chance you can.
Yeah. Fair enough. Immortal Fury for 2 CP, and the fight phase just after someone has chosen to fight one of your possessed, you just auto-fight on death.
Yeah, just fight on, no roll, just do it. That's so
terrifying. Rapid Manifestation for 1 CP. You can Deep Strike Exalted 8-bound with a 3-inch Deep Strike, but you can't charge. I have a feeling that one might get eroded because they made all the 3 inches into 6 inches. There's no way they keep that.
It's fine. Let's see here. What were we saying they were again? 9-inch movement? Plus blood surge, so I think you're still fine
and that's the fact that if you shoot at them, they've got the Brazen Fury that lets them move inside engagement range.
Yeah. Oh my god, so good.
So it's I'll deep strike near you. Please overwatch me.
Yes, please shoot me. Please shoot me. This is such a fun detachment. I like this one a lot.
Warp Stalkers for 1 CP. In your movement phase or charge phase, just after you've selected one of your possessed to move or charge, you can move through enemy models, so you can't be screened.
Right.
And you just can't end with an engagement range, but you also automatically pass any desperate escape tests too. So it's just
we're just gonna disappear and go through. It's fine.
Yeah. And then Horrifying Violence in your opponent's command phase. You pick one of your possessed units, anybody with an engagement range of that, or they must take a battle shock test and subtract -1s. Yep. So mostly there to try to take objectives from people.
Yeah. Which is useful, because if you're loading up on this, you're not taking a ton of units. You probably are not taking many cultist units, if at all. So this is kind of your way to brute force things off of objectives. So,
yeah. Yeah, this one is, if you were leaning into Exalted or 8-bound and Exalted 8-bound, there's no reason not to play this if you were already going all in on it.
So I make, obviously the running joke is that I've been making the complaints that we don't have melee Terminators. this is basically what I would want like a Red Butcher's detachment to be. So it's like fine. I'm not actually that upset that Terminators like can't do that, other than the fact that I just have a whole bunch of the models, because this really does do everything that I would want that hypothetical detachment to do. Like they're tough, they're strong, they're fast, they blend things in melee. Yeah, this is gonna be fun. I'm definitely going to play this one.
Yes. And then finally, our final detachment is a vehicle detachment, specifically a transport detachment, the RoeTaKa Onslaught. With the rule, rush to the fray. Each time a World Eater's unit from your army disembarks from a transport until the end of the turn, add 1 to their charge rolls, and they have lance.
Very useful. Going back to the whole like band name jokes earlier, I think I might actually have a playlist on my thing. It's called like Rush to the Fray, because anyway, yeah, sorry.
I played bass for RoeTaKa.
Yeah. Anywho.
Anyway. So, Murderous Onslaught. Again, all of these are World Eaters models only, so they can be on any World Eaters, but these are going to generally specifically be for people who can get into transports, which means Masters of Execution, because they're the only ones who can, the only characters who can get into transports.
Nope,
yeah.
Slaughter Bound can't get into transport because that's not a transport. Okay, nope, you're right. Master of Execution it is.
No. Slaughterbound could get into a Land Raider.
Are Land Raiders considered? Do they have the transport?
Yeah, they are transports.
Okay, they are transports.
They have to be transports because
fair enough. Yeah. Okay,
they're not dedicated
transport. Got it.
So there's one that they
options.
wouldn't take.
So there's 2 options.
Yeah,
you got whole 2 unit options.
So Murderous Onslaught for World Eaters model only. If the Bears unit disembarked from a transport this turn, they can't be overwatched.
Very nice.
Aggressive deployment. If the bear starts the battle within a dedicated transport, the transport gets scouts 9 inches.
Scouting rhinos is dope.
Yeah. Unleash Hell. At the start of your shooting phase, you can select a vehicle model within 6 inches of the bear, or if the bear is embarked into transport, you can select that transport. Until the end of the phase, after the selected model has shot, choose an enemy model selected, hit by one of those targets. They're suppressed. They're -1 to hit. That one you could put on a Slaughterbound inside a inside a Land Raider.
Whew.
Yeah. And then finally, Infernal Infusion, World Eaters only. Once per battle at the start of the fight phase, your unit has fights first. Yeah, honestly, I don't know if there's a bad one in the bunch.
No, they're all good.
Like if you're playing transport heavy, and again, that's one where you can play with like 8-bound if you want.
Yeah. It is a little bit annoying, though, that they do specifically mention Berserker Surgeons in the fluff for Infernal Infusion, and that's not an option we have. Anyway. Yes, I will always find something to complain about.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And then finally, our strats for this one. Endless Pursuit of Violence for 1 CP. In the end of the fight phase, choose an infantry unit and a transport that it can embark in. If they're wholly within 6 inches of it, they can get right back. So, okay, I popped out of the transport, I murdered something, I get back in.
Rapid re-embarkation. I like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Smash Through for 1 CP. Vehicle can move through, when doing a normal advance move, can move through terrain features.
Hey, Kool-Aid man.
Always good. Aggressive disembarkation. This one is specifically for rhinos. A World Eater, in your movement phase, just you select a rhino that has not been selected to move yet. The World Eaters unit inside the rhino can disembark. When doing so, they can be set up within wholly within 6 inches of the rhino, and can be set up in engagement range.
Yeah.
And remember, they just have to have disembarked from a transport to get rushed to the fray, so they will get the lance ability. Although, no. Well, they wouldn't get lance because they wouldn't have charged.
True.
But they'd have lance, but they wouldn't get any benefit from it.
That's true, yeah.
So it won't necessarily... But still, if you just don't want to risk the... Also, it doesn't say that they have to have done a normal move or anything.
Yeah.
In fact, no, you have to choose the rhino before it moves.
In your
movement, when you select the rhino to move, they can immediately disembark before the rhino moves. Okay.
Yeah.
Full Throttle Assault, also rhino specific. You select a rhino that has not moved yet. Every time a World Eater's unit disembarks from that model after it's made a normal move, they can still charge. So it's basically assault ramps for your rhinos.
Yes.
Unrelenting Advance for 1 CP. Select a vehicle that was shot at. It can make a normal move of 6 inches. So basically, you get a surge move on the vehicle. And then Fury Unleashed for 1 CP. When they shoot at one of your rhinos, specifically a rhino, a Khorne Berserker's unit embarked on the model can disembark and make a Blood Surge move. But they do specify you can't combine those two. So you can't have the rhino move up 6 inches and then disembark the Berserkers.
Yeah.
I said, while this one is definitely rhino focused, there's still enough here that can play around with like World Eaters that you can still bring your heavy hitters to play.
Yes. I like this. I think it's good. I think if you were doing Rhino Rush in, Berserkers, I think this is definitely something that you would use because you can slingshot a lot of things. You can get into assault very quickly. I don't know that with the +2 movement, you need this because other factions like had the vehicle heavy detachment that allows them to advance and like move up the field quickly and get out and assault, and you don't need that in this army. You can literally just foot slog up the board and you're fine. The caveat to that is since you don't have the feel no pain,
that's what I was going to say.
It's like that's really like where this, I think it does have its use, is if you were running like Berserker heavy or something that's a little less tough and you want to protect them in rhinos, then it's absolutely worth it. But honestly, as much as I like this and as much as I think this is useful, rather than spending the points on the rhinos, I'd rather just have extra guys in the units. So
yeah,
I don't know. I see a use for this. I don't know if it's one that I'm necessarily going to use.
Well, if they're in the rhinos, they can't do their own surging, can they?
No.
So why do you need rhinos?
Yeah, no, that's kind of the only thing. It's like I don't know that you need. I don't know that this detachment is as needed as it would be in some other armies because you just can natively move so fast anyway. But if you choose to go that route, like this is a very good detachment, and there's definitely good abilities that make you very quick and make you very resilient. So, I can certainly see the use here. I think I would, rather than spending the extra points on the rhinos and land raiders, I would prefer just taking larger units, especially since you're not gaining as much benefit from them being on the field from the shooting perspective. Like, land raiders are great, but they're hitting on force. So, rather than that 200 points, maybe I just take an extra unit.
Yeah.
And again, this is all dependent on what the points are as well, how those all flesh out. One thing I did want to mention just as an aside, because it's not in here, but the Vessels of Wrath Grotmus detachment gets better because of the changes to this book. Because the Vessels of Wrath, if you're not familiar or don't remember, it allows you to select a certain number of units based on the size of the game that gains one of the Blessings of Khorne benefits automatically, which means I now have 3 units in a 2,000-point game every turn that has devastating wounds in melee.
That's terrifying.
That's
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's devastating against infantry, but still.
Against infantry, but yeah. Yep.
I was going to say that might get changed, but I doubt it actually because infantry mostly have 1 wound and devastating wounds don't spill over anymore.
Yeah. No, I don't think it's going to get eroded, but it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I can just pick to have, that's why Vessels of Wrath was always good. It's like you could just pick what you wanted on the table, and now the table's less reliable, but it's across the board better. That makes that detachment better because you've just worked out the randomness. Like, now you can just pick. So Vessels of Wrath is a really, really good detachment with these new rules.
Yeah, I can definitely see how it would be. That actually raises a good point. I hadn't looked to see if the Death Guard one is at all affected.
Not really. Units from your army that are not embarked within a transport have Scout and Stealth 5 inches. Or Scout 5 inches and Stealth abilities.
I mean, Scout 5 inches and Stealth is still not bad, and considering that you're, like, if you're running, you're no slower than you were before, that does get you faster.
I don't think if it necessarily fundamentally changes any of the way those units play, though. I mean, they're good. That's a good benefit. I just don't know that it fundamentally changes it. The way that the Blessings table changing fundamentally changes how good Vessels of Wrath is.
No, I would agree, and because like nothing here in the Flyblown Host one plays around with actually there's one stratagem that gets slightly worse because there's a stratagem that refers to cultists and it won't do that anymore. But it also but it's cultists or poxwalker, so it'll be fine.
So same. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Flyblown Host doesn't really change, and I think that's because the Death Guard rule functionally, while it did change, it has a very similar effect.
Yeah.
I will say that actually Flyblown Host gets better because you are not giving up plague ability, like the various debuffs.
True. That's true.
So you're able to move up faster with stealth. You remember this army is now like mostly T6. T6 plus stealth is going to be that much harder to deal with.
That is true.
One thing I could see changed is there's an enhancement that says, hey, if you're targeting a unit that's within contagion range of one of your units, I could see that being changed to a unit with an afflicted unit, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if they go in and FAQ that. They might leave it at contagion range just because they want you to get closer.
Yeah.
But so Flyblown Host, I mean, it doesn't fundamentally change, not the way that Vessels of Wrath gets that much scarier by having three units that just have dev wounds, but yeah. So in the end, how do you feel about this codex? I mean, and because like I'm looking at like Berserker Warband is still generally solidly good, and obviously the Possessed Slaughter Band is terrifying.
Yeah, and Vessels of Wrath remains a good detachment. So I'm very happy that we didn't lose anything, which I really thought we were going to lose a number of things. You know, like I really thought we were going to lose Hellbrutes. I really thought we were going to lose Defilers, you know, the Predators and stuff like that. So I'm glad they didn't lose anything. I'm still a bit bummed that we only really gained one character, one unit. The character's nice. It fits in and does things that like you couldn't do before. So like I like that he adds that role. They're still missing a generic Lord. We're still missing a generic Terminator character. We're still missing a unit for the Lord on Juggernaut to actually lead. Although now everything's faster, so yeah. But the debuffs to ballistic skill don't matter to me because I literally never shot with this army. So overall, I like it. I think there's a couple different ways you can play that work thematically. I think Khorne Daemonkin could work if you really want to make that work. I don't know. It's not immediately what I wanted out of it, so I'm like, maybe I'm not as interested in that one. But overall, I even the detachments that I think are not as powerful, like Khorne Daemonkin or the cultists and the cultist one, they're still like fun. I could still see getting use out of them. So
yeah, and I feel the same way about the Death Guard one. Like even the Poxwalker one, yeah, is it good? No. Is it going to be fun? Yes.
Yeah. So
and I can see that with World Eaters. Like the Cult of Blood, is it good? No. That's going to be wild to play around, though.
Yeah. Three Lord of Skulls and then as many cultists as I can put on the table. Heck yeah.
See, I have to say, since Kevin likes it, I think I have to not like this.
Fair enough. That's fair.
Mostly because
fair.
Also I'm here listening to all this and I'm trying to sort of like Death Guard. It's like, how do I outrun or outshoot what is coming to my face very quickly? Because I've played against this 8-bound before and they're in my face so quickly. And giving a bunch of units extra movement, this just feels like a nightmare that I won't have enough gun to stop.
Yep. Yep, we're on the same page. Yep.
Yeah. Well, and I look at the Berserker Warband, and I've been playing Blood Angels lately, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's Blood Angels, except for the fact my Blood Angels move 6 inches, not 8 inches natively.
Yeah.
And to get extra movement and survivability, I'm generally running like vehicles and dreads and things like that. And if I just poured all of those into assault intercessors, I still wouldn't have the bodies or just the sheer amount of violence that a World Eaters list could bring to the table. So I think the even though the detachment feels Blood Angel-y, the units underneath them are so much more aggressive, and the army rule is so much more aggressive.
And the one thing I will say that I think mitigates a little bit of like what Dennis was saying, like, can I chew through this in time? losing blanket feel no pain really does, I would say limits, but it definitely hurts. Because typically when I would roll my my Blessings of Khorne rolls, if I didn't have like a specific need, okay, +2 movement, feel no pain. Like those are the ones I just took by default usually. And well, you don't need the +2 movement because you've got that natively now. There's no real replacement for the feel no pain. And like that is going to make the army a lot less resilient, which is why I think I would lean more towards my idea is like, oh, bigger units, more bodies. But there's also like, if you want to take vehicles and put them in mechanized, you have that option too. So I think it's good. Like flexibility is good for people.
Yeah. And you need that, and you'll need that built-in speed because you also have very little that can deep strike outside of like the demon detachment.
Mhm.
You're, to get into scoring position, and with only, unless you take the Cult of Blood, you can only take 3 units of. I guess because you've got Goremonger, you could take 3 of those, 3 of Jackals. But why would you just take lots of bodies, and anything that isn't actively killing something can do an an action or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, so it's been a long episode. We've had 2 books to talk about, and I think at the end we're decently positive on both of them if you're interested in playing them, and decently negative if we're looking to play against them, judging from your feelings, Dennis. So,
yep, just being real.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It's like you look at this and like, how do I deal with this? And I will say, I'm starting to play against Emperor's Children now, and it is an interesting army to play against as well. So so I'm like that one is faster, but not quite as murderous as I see the World Eaters being. But I think both of these are solid books. I'm curious to see what they do for Thousand Suns whenever they announce that as the final part of the Legion portion of Years of Chaos. And then, of course, we'll have Chaos Knights after that. But
no, they'll change their mind and just not do Thousand Suns. And then you'll only have 3 pieces of a token.
I mean, I'm still waiting for Votann. That's what I want to see next.
They have to do Thousand Suns because they have to release the weird automaton models that nobody wants.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that just about wraps up this episode. So we'll be back in a couple of weeks with something new. Thank you for sticking with us for a double book review. But until then, from all of us here at Preferred Enemies, I'm your host, Rob.
Kevin.
Dennis.
And Richard.
Good night, good gaming, and 2 Chaos Codexes that both come out swinging hard.
Blood for the Blood God.